I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you today. The good news is coming up in a moment. The bad news is we've only got one life. But the good news is you've got a choice on how you live that life. Every morning you get to choose. What are you going to do with this one life of yours? So in this video, I'm going to discuss some of the biggest blockers that get in the way of us thinking we really do have a choice. Then I'm going to break down the notion of choices as well. And finally, I'm going to give you a framework to design your life. Let's get started. You know, some of the biggest complaints I get from my clients when I start working with them is they just feel like they have a lack of control. They have too many responsibilities, or they feel life is too chaotic. But let's break that down. What does it really mean when they're complaining about these things? Well, the loss of control, for example. They feel like their job just takes over and overwhelms their life. They feel like they have to do things in order to make money, in order to maintain a lifestyle. They feel like they no longer have control over their time. And quite often they'll say that's because of all of their responsibilities. They feel responsible for children, responsible for partners, responsible for parents. It doesn't really matter what they feel responsible for. They wear it like a 10-ton weight on their shoulders. And then more and more people are talking about this sense of living in chaos. COVID didn't help in that. But before that, there were other macro challenges on a global scale that people took very personally. And they couldn't see their way through that to design a life that they would really love. But I'm here today to tell you that that choice is real. And that's great news. So let's have a look at the money side of things. Quite often, I'm working with people who are at various key milestones in their careers, trying to work out, what do I do next? I've got this much income currently. I need to be doing at least that, if not more, with my next job. But what we do is we sit down and we look at all of the numbers. We look at the outgoings. We look at how much money they need to earn to maintain their current lifestyle. And then we look at the lifestyle and say, is that what you want to preserve for the next decade? Or is there something else that you'd like to have in the mix? Lifestyles come at a price, but not every lifestyle costs the same. So once you've looked at all the numbers, people start to see opportunities and maybe some different ways of doing things. And then there's the job. There are millions of ways to make money. There are millions of ways of doing something that will be fulfilling. And once you understand that, you stop worrying about the job that you currently have. If you love that job, fantastic, keep going. But if you don't, stop worrying about it. You could literally leave tomorrow and find some work by the end of the day. Now that work may not be exactly what you're doing now. It may not be in the same field. It may not be at the same level of income, but I can guarantee you'll find something to do while you're working out what you really want to do. But I'm not even suggesting that. Don't necessarily have to leave your current job, but while you're there, look around. It's always easier to find a job when you're in a job. But then I want you to have a look at what's behind your choices. Very often the people I'm working with, it's a desire for safety. It's a desire for security. It's a desire for assurance. And it's a desire for predictability. But all we're doing here is raising our consciousness as to what's behind our current choices. When we feel like we don't have a choice, we've already made choices to stay where we are, to do what we're doing currently. So in there is your seed of opportunity. Once you realize that what you're doing already is based on choice and it's not been inflicted on you, that can free you up to think of so many other opportunities. And it's in that context I wanted to talk to you about my L4 framework. It's L4 because it's live, love, learn and leave one legacy. And this is a framework you can use to access in your subconscious brain what you would truly love to do if you had all the time and all the money in the world to do exactly what you wanted to do. Now, I know for many of you that's going to just sound like some mad dream, but stick with me because this works. Format this as some sort of life map, a sort of mind map, starting with you in the middle and branching out, and let your mind roam. Free it up. There's no constraints. I talk about it in a lot more detail in my new book, Dynamic Time Management, but effectively all we're doing is accessing information that's been locked away, maybe an old dream, a forgotten ambition. And under those headings of live, love, learn, and leave one legacy, we're just writing down all the things that come to mind. What would I do? Where would I go? What would I buy? Who would I do it with? And when are we going to get started? Now, the power of the L4 framework is it helps you to identify some things that you can then turn into a goal. And I talked about goals last week if you want to know how to make them stick. But in essence, all we're doing here is extracting something from that life map. And we're putting it on a piece of paper and we're saying, what's going to be a reasonable time in which I can achieve that? Break that down. What do I need to do first? And many people shout at me at this point and say, but hold on, you said time and money was no object. But guess what? Everything started as a dream. All we're doing here is tapping into that, giving that dream a date, and then we can plan it out as a great goal. But the key is to start. But I've got something even more important for you to consider doing with this one life of yours. And that is every morning and every night before you go to sleep, I want you to think about what are you grateful for. Quite often, when I was talking about those barriers that people put up, I feel out of control. I feel like I've got too many responsibilities. I feel like life is chaotic. They're neglecting to look at all of the magnificent things that are happening in their lives. And some of those can be small and some of them can be bigger. But some of those small ones make a big difference. What are you grateful for? If you do that, even to get started over a 30-day period, I can guarantee you will feel better about your life. And at that point, I want you to come back and listen to this episode and have a think about what are you actually going to do with this one life of yours. I hope you found that useful. Give me a thumbs up if you did. I'll see you back here again next week.